Hello there folks, it is TIJ Gaming and welcome to the 19th and penultimate episode of our Formula 1 2012 career mode with Lotus. And today we go to the US for what it was in this season, the inaugural American Grand Prix. Of course, not the inaugural American Grand Prix in total. Of course, it's ran at many circuits, just including Detroit, Indianapolis. To be honest, I can't really think of many more, but I know Detroit, of course, Las Vegas had it for a few years. A very weird setup at Las Vegas in the early 80s, a track that a lot of the drivers didn't like because of the corners and something to do with it was a weird track. I can't exactly remember why, but Detroit, I think it possibly run at Long Beach as well at one point. But the point is, the US has had a plethora of circuits where the Grand Prix has run out in several years. But in 2012, it was the first race at the Circuit of America. It's become a staple on both the Formula 1 and the MotoGP calendar, and it is run as the 19th race in this 2012 season, of course, being the circuit where Hamilton, I think it was probably one of Hamilton's only wins in 2012, particularly at the last echelons of the season, particularly as he had two breakdowns in Singapore and Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. But this race did see, in that long straight we've just gone past, him overtake Vettel to win the race with the DRS. Goodness me, with Hamilton in a McLaren and Vettel in a Red Bull, how things change for the difference, blimey. But two very races that weren't very memorable, to be honest, in Abu Dhabi and India. We did well in India, but let's not talk about India. And Abu Dhabi, it was just a bit of a rubbish race. But as you did see there, a bit of an exclamation mark in that we could win the teammate challenge in this race. Again, let's have a look at the teammate challenge data. Basically, it just says that if Kimi doesn't outscore, so what's the gap? 29 points. If Kimi doesn't outscore us by 4, we've won the championship points. In terms of outraced, we beat him, and in terms of podiums, if we can get a podium this weekend, then we have definitely beat Raikkonen officially there. But he'll beat us in terms of fastest laps, so it won't be a Grand Slam. But in terms of qualifying, we have to out-qualify Kimi twice, of course, to be able to draw on that front. But in terms of the championship, then, we are fairly close to achieving the 6th place in the championship. But we have got Perez, Schumacher, Rosberg and Massa, who could all have two big results if we don't deliver, relegated even down to 10th in the championship. But I doubt Kimi will catch us in that regard. But a very interesting championship battle going on. We've got the 4 drivers in Alonso, Vettel, Hamilton and Button going for the championship. Of course, Hamilton and Button could be pushed out, and of course Alonso could well win the championship at COTA, but that would require a pretty disastrous race for the other 3, and of course Alonso to win the race. We're pretty much wrapped up for 4th in the Constructors as well. Again, we just need 2 good performances at COTA and Brazil, and hopefully that's something we can achieve starting in qualifying. Well, we've got a bit of a dilemma here, to be quite honest, because qualifying's fine, it's lovely and dry, but the race, we have a prediction that it's going to be wet, and the problem comes in setup. Do we prioritise setup for qualifying or a race that might not even be wet? Of course, that's only a forecast. I think we'll risk it. I think we'll go with the setup we've already got, because we did that in Singapore, not knowing that we'd rain in the race necessarily, and we still did alright. So I think we should be okay, but it's a dry qualifying, get out on the option tyres and make sure that we arrest that little bit of a run we had, particularly in Abu Dhabi and in India really, and get to Q3 for the first time in 3 races. Just coming across the line now to complete our 2nd lap, and to be fair, it was half decent, a 3/10 improvement on our first effort we did on the option tyres. Just gone back into lean mix, and to be quite honest, I'm quite happy with that. I do really like this circuit. I've liked it since it come on the calendar, and particularly in this car, it seems you've got a good setup. It's nice and flowing to drive, even though I have backed off a little bit in terms of gear selection, so it's not as fluid as it would be. But 5th place at the moment. A lot of drivers have set the lap time, so that should be more than enough to get through to the 2nd quali session. Let's give a round of applause to Heikki Kovalainen, who's managed to get into Q2 very narrowly. I say that actually. He did beat Perez and Massa by a 10th, and amazingly, the Ferrari and the Sauber have both gone out in that session. Kovalainen beats them. Seems that the Sauber is quite weak round here, but as I said earlier, we've got through nice and easily in that top 5. The only one, actually the last of the 5 to be in that 140 mark. But I think, as usual in these qualifying sessions, the bar will raise, but I think we can raise as well. I think we possibly could improve maybe by 4 or 5 tenths. Not massively, but I think there's some improvement there. So, good session. All the Brits through to Q2, and of course our teammate. Nice to see that Kovalainen secures a fair and respectable Q2 position for Caterham. It looks like it's our teammate we're going to have to knock out to get through to the next session. To be fair, the bar's not really been set very high unless the track has... What's the opposite of evolution? It hasn't disintegrated because it's not gone to ruin. But the track usually is one that, and all tracks in qualifying tend to see some sort of evolution in times. But it seems that time by Kimi, okay, it's 2 tenths quicker than his Q1 effort, but the bar is not set very high at all. So hopefully we can achieve a similar lap to the one we achieved in Q1 and get through quite comfortably, even though we've gone for a low fuel setup, and really we're only going to be able to complete 1 lap. So it's high risk, but it looks like this risk might well pay off. I think if we just keep this on the road, we should just about get through to Q2. I can't really joke because we might crash it at the last corner, but based on this pace, we seem to be really quick, clearly much quicker than our teammate Kimi, especially in the dry. That's a real shame really that it's going to rain tomorrow, because we would have really good dry pace, but nonetheless, we're outpacing Kimi in the first 2 sectors really substantially, so hopefully that comes through to the next few sectors. We said we could improve by maybe a few tenths, but based on that time, we could even get a sub 140, but let's have a look how we get on. We're just going to come across the line. Bear in mind, in the first year, it was a little bit further away, and it is a 1:39.6, 1.1 seconds quicker than anybody else, and that is really, really special, and possibly this might well be our 3rd pole of the season, which could be really exciting going into a wet race. The usual suspects going out there then. Kovalainen not really in with a shout, but good to see that he got through to Q2. The 2 Toro Rossos also not on the pace. The Williams of Senegos, as well as the Sauber of Kobayashi, the Lotus of Kimi, and the Force India of Hulkenberg. So both Saubers gone, both Toro Rossos gone. The Williams of Maldonado remains, as well as course as us in the Lotus, and the Force India of Hulkenberg gone, but Di Resta qualifies for the Q3 session. So we've got the 2 McLarens, just the 1 Ferrari even, of course, with Massa going out in Q1. Both Mercedes cars, both Red Bulls, a Williams, a Force India, and a Lotus in Q3. Let's see how the battle plays out, and honestly, I don't think we're going to get pole by 1.1 seconds. I do feel like the field may well step up the pace. Well, I think we just started pushing a little bit too hard there. Our first flyer of the session, we managed to get our lap time invalidated through the S's, purely because we were just pushing a little bit too hard and tried to find a bit of extra pace. We got plenty of time. Luckily, we got the fuel to do it. We're just going to go for a slow lap now. It seems the guys, okay, have improved, not drastically, they've improved a little bit to a 140.2 as the best. But at the end of the day, we've still got to make sure we can do another sub 40 times to take pole. And that's not going to be easy, because that lap we did before was a absolutely fantastic one. So by no means have we got pole wrapped up. Well, Hamilton stepped up to the plate, a 1:39.8. The previous best by someone was a 1:40.2. We're going to struggle to beat Hamilton's time. We only beat that time by 2 tenths in the last session. As we said, it was a mighty time we've completed. But what will it be here in the second sector? Wow, look at this. We are massively up. Just ignore. Oh, there we go. We're back connected to the server again. But luckily, we're not online, so that doesn't really matter too much. But that delta is mighty impressive to Lewis Hamilton. This could be a mega lap, or it might not be anything that's any good. We might lose all the time through this sector, but we'll soon find out what the lap will be. Coming through the last few corners, I do love how this track flows, and as I said once again, this car flowing beautifully through there. Of course, we're not going to get that sort of grip if it rains tomorrow. Oh no, we're not. Right, coming through the last corner then, get into the apex, nice, hitting the apex on the exit as well, but coming around the final corner, we've still got another lap in us yet, of course, but it's going to be a 1:39 point something. It's a 1:39.5, qualifying on pole by 3 tenths of a second as of yet, but we're going to do another lap. Again, we don't know, the pace of those behind might improve, but at the moment we've got 4 different constructors on the top 4 place on the grid, and amazingly, the 4th place guy is in second in the on the grid at the moment, but Vettel, Button and Alonso nowhere to be seen at the top of the grid. There we go then, folks, pole position for the Circuit of the Americas Grand Prix. Of course, the first race round here officially, so we take the first pole. That's a nice accolade to have, but as I said earlier, the top 4, apart from Hamilton, not really in the championship fight, with Vettel and Alonso in 5th and 6th. Button, interestingly, just behind fellow compatriot Di Resta and Webber and Schumacher on the 5th row. Let's see if there's any rain for tomorrow's race, and let's see how it all plays out right now. We've been on pole twice this season, but this race is the only one of those 3 poles now that we face massive unpredictability going into the first corner. We could be the first one, the first driver that is, going into the monsoon at turn 1. We're only on Inter, so that indicates that it is wet, although it's not that wet. But of course, wet conditions are something we have not faced at this circuit so far. We are going to be braving that now as the lights go out here at the American circuit, the Circuit of the Americas for the American Grand Prix. Just going to try and take a bit of a conservative view in the first corner. Take the normal line. Seems Alonso has had a very good start. We're not really going to look behind us, but we've had a magnificent start compared to the rest. But these S's are going to be no way particularly easy. It seems Maldonado had a good start off the line, and in fact he is still scrapping there, and Alonso has fell back a bit. But we're just going to be very cautious around these first few corners. Seems everybody else is going to be as well. I thought that was a Force India in 4th place there, but no chance of that. But Maldonado up to 3rd place, Hamilton in 2nd, and this could have big permutations for the championship, of course, because with only Hamilton out of the top 4 in the championship in the top 3, that's going to definitely shake up what happens in the championship. But conditions not great, but we're not really pushing the limits by any stretch of the imagination. We're just going to try and keep quite cautious, which it seems everybody else is doing because they're not right up our backside. But of course we haven't pulled away either yet. But a good start. I must feel like Hamilton might well make some gains here, so we're going to use a little bit of Kerrs late on in the straight. He's not going to go for a big dive up the inside though, I wouldn't imagine. But this is a big braking zone. We've made it quite easily though, no real problem with that. And I think it'll just be the case of seeing where the limits are on the track and whether we can hold this lead. So just an end of lap 1 update on the field then. We've got Alonso, Button and Vettel all in the top 7, so that won't change the championship too much. But for some reason, Kimi has dropped to the bottom of the field. No, not really sure what's happened there. He did qualify in 12th, so it's not like he qualified down there. Massa failing to gain anything on the start. It seems Di Resta was involved at the start in an incident as well. But big gainers from the start include Senna, Ricciardo and Perez. Well, there's a yellow flag all in Sector 2. I am going to guess it's been a big pile-up. I would say there's been a big pile-up. Nobody out necessarily, but just look at the gap between maybe sort of top 10, top 12. There's a little bit of a gap back to those 2 drivers. Look at that gap back, though, then to the next group of drivers. The game lagged a little bit before that yellow flag. That tends to mean there's been a big incident. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when there is a big incident on the game just kind of lag. It doesn't cope with all the bits flying off, but we'll have to see what did happen there. Not really sure what did happen, but just a bit of an update on our situation. We haven't really done anything so far. We just kept it on the track, which I think is the most important thing as it stands. Hamilton not going for a move. A brilliant start from Pastor Maldonado. That's really not been shown enough. But whether he'll make any more gains will be interesting. But I've just realised we haven't really used much Kerrs. So we're going to try and use all of that before the end of the lap. But it seems to be a big divide between the top 10 and everybody else. Particularly good exit from that corner, it seems, as we've massively gained on Hamilton and Maldonado in terms of our gap to them. But the gap between ourselves and Hamilton remaining within a second. So we haven't pulled away really by any stretch of the imagination so far. The top 4 are seeming to be a bit of a breakaway group at the end of lap 3. Although Hamilton massively trying to defend from Pastor Maldonado, stand on the inside line. But I think if I'm correct, I can't quite remember, but I think Hamilton and Button were 3rd and 4th in the championship, with Button being in 3rd and Hamilton being in 4th place even. So for these two to finish where they are at the moment would have big ramifications really going into the finale in Brazil, and it would mean there's a 4-way battle for the title. I don't think that would change anything in terms of where Hamilton and Button are in the championship. I think that Maldonado and Hamilton just had a bit of a scrap possibly, because Hamilton's pulled away quite a bit from Maldonado, so a bit of a tussle there at the end of that first corner, which obviously hasn't ended well for Pastor Maldonado there, or Jenson Button equally. But it seems that the likes of Alonso are awfully quicker than us, so we're going to have to consider just getting on the pace now rather than looking behind us. Well, we've ran wide there. Ah dear, Hamilton's through. That wasn't good enough. We'd lost concentration for a minute. It seems Hamilton's quite a bit quicker, so we'll have to get onto the straight. We do tend to exit this last corner fairly well based off recent laps. It looks like Hamilton's gone. We might have to dive up the inside of this first corner. The last time we dived up the inside into the first corner, we got involved in an accident with Michael Schumacher. And break nice and late here, try and gain something on Lewis, but we've kind of cut the corner a little bit there, but we'll gloss over that. Now we're going to have a good first run through these first few corners, really. We're going to have to push to regain that first position from Lewis Hamilton. Try and not spin out, of course. That's probably not the thing that we want to do particularly. But good run through there. A little bit scrappy near the end, but we have definitely gained in that first sector on Lewis and set a purple first sector. Maybe this is the wake-up call we needed. Possibly. I don't really know, but pushing the car like mad just to try and get on equal footing with Lewis again. Not using much of our Kerrs, but as you can see, we're pretty much gaining a little bit on Lewis, but not too much. coming to this little corner here. We have gained quite a bit in the braking zone. Whether he'll gain on acceleration again is debatable, but he runs a little bit wide, so he doesn't gain there. Whether we'll gain on the slipstream effect is debatable. We haven't had that yet, but Hamilton seems to be pulling away here on the straight, and that might just be the aspirations of us winning gone unless we make a real big move into one of these corners. We don't need to make it just yet, though, I don't think. Oh, Hamilton having a little bit of a slide through there. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I thought he could have spun. But is this a battle we don't really need to be getting involved in? Potentially not. He's broke the second barrier between me and him, which might indicate that he's pulling away, and we're making a few more mistakes here, just under the pressure that Lewis has got us, and this is a real shame if Lewis takes the win off us here, but, you know, second place, we'd still take that, but that's just excuses, and we need to work now and seeing if we can catch up to Lewis, or whether this fight for first is just gone. The win, I think, is well and truly gone now. Hamilton has got pace which is far superior to what we can produce with 151s. He's doing consistent 50s and low 50s at that. The guys behind us, I'd say, probably quicker as well. But if we can hold them back, we take a second place. It's going to be a bit of a boring episode, a little bit like Abu Dhabi was. But it's just a case of holding position rather than attacking. So there's not really much I can talk through apart from just playing our game and driving how we should drive and just keeping it on the track. Because the only reason we really lost position to Hamilton is going off the track. These drivers aren't aggressive enough, particularly, to go for moves on their own accord. But Maldonado really slowing down there. Goodness knows it was just because we had a good exit to that last corner. But a bit weird there. But Massa down to 21st. Goodness knows that's what happened to him. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I think for the next 5 laps of the race, we can drive this out. And if we can achieve a second place, that's a big thumbs up, even though the team wants us to finish in first. Well, this doesn't half change the complexion of the championship. No race instance, so goodness knows what's happened, but Fernando Alonso has had to pit for New Inter's tyres, so he's right at the back of the rear of the field. Bear in mind, he's leading the championship. Vettel will score 10 points, Hamilton will score 25, of course, and Button will score 8. That will dent his championship lead. That will put all 4 of those drivers into the championship battle going into the finale in Brazil. I think we're pretty much going to secure 6th place on our behalf by getting a podium at least here, hence me saying the podium, and focus on that one because we might lose position to Maldonado before you know it, if we make a mistake, but this makes the championship battle very, very exciting. Well, it's not going to be a fairy tale, it's not going to be the win that we wanted in this penultimate race of the Formula 1 season, it's not going to be the second win of our season, which is a real shame, but we'll take second. We've got just over a lap to go, so we'll talk through this final lap. It's not been the most exciting of races, to be honest. We dropped that first position, but apart from that, nothing in terms of dramatic action that's involved us anyway, but seems further back in the field has been a bit of an upset, particularly with Ferrari taking up the last 2 positions. Goodness knows what's happened there with the Maranello-based team today. But anyway, we're going to focus on our own race. If we can finish second here, then there's a fantastic result for us. Another 18 points. Make sure we win the teammate challenge over Raikkonen. It then makes sure that we pretty much finished 6th in the... is it 6th? Yeah, 6th in the championship. We beat Felipe Massa, I think, in that rivalry. So a very successful season going into Brazil. The Brazil race will just be a race for pride. It'll be a race where we can go out there, do anything we can, and see if we can get a good result. But the rain not really delivering much in terms of excitement today. No frills, no spills necessarily. Hamilton took the lead. We could have kept that lead if not for the one mistake we'd made during the Grand Prix. But, you know, you can make mistakes. There's not really much you can do about that. But at the end of the day, it's been a pretty much faultless race. Apart from that, it's clear that Hamilton was much quicker. He's absolutely sailed away. But Maldonado is quite quick on this last straight. So we're going to stay on the inside. Just make sure that we keep that second position. Yeah, Maldonado just behind us. But we should be fine coming to the last few corners. Might be a bit tense, though. But Hamilton is absolutely miles away now. So there's no way that unless he spins or has a failure that we're going to win the race. But we'll take a podium. Our first podium since the bonkers Singapore race that we managed to win. But, you know, a brilliant race. After a really poor one in Abu Dhabi. No points in India either. And a pretty mediocre races considering how we did in previous races in the likes of Korea and in... where was the other one? Korea and Japan. Come around the last corner anyway. We're going to come around the last corner. Not set our fastest lap, not the most competitive of fastest laps. That's been a bit of a theme all season. But we've come across the line, amazingly, a McLaren, a Lotus and a Williams on the podium with a Ferrari and a Red Bull nowhere to be seen. Jolly good. We beat Kimi, we beat Massa, We didn't finish first, but to be honest, second place is a result of a team that would take any other day. So a big thumbs up in terms of that. As you can see, Jenson Button's final finish position in 5th, but Sebastian Vettel only 11th. Well, he must have dropped down the field, and we'll confirm Mark Webber also down there, Kimi with no points, and Alonso down in 23rd place. How does that affect the championship then, with one race to go? Wow. Lewis Hamilton has gone from the bottom of that pile, 21 points behind Alonso, to be 4 points ahead. That is quite incredible. Of course, neither Vettel or Alonso winning any points today, gain any points. Button gained a few, but Hamilton coming all the way down, wow, to there. Rosberg and Perez both need a win to get 6th in the championship. So that's pretty much confirmed from our point of view. And in terms of the constructors, we're 24 points ahead. Mercedes need a pretty strong race. And if we get 2 points in Brazil between the two of us, we're confirmed at least to beat Sauber. But McLaren are the Constructors' champions. They confirmed that today. But quite a bonkers turnaround for Lewis Hamilton, who wins the race and equally takes the championship lead. And the dominant form going into that race in Brazil. Well, we'll congratulate him. We'll be happy with our result. We weren't expected to win today, I think, in all honesty. Hamilton very pleased with that result. And equally, Williams, who probably only their second podium of the year. Hamilton really chuffed. Of course you would be. None of your rivals have done anything today. Fair play, Lewis. 2 compatriots, 1st and 2nd. And Lewis might just get that 2nd title he wanted with McLaren. Albeit, he's going to Mercedes next year. Rosberg finishes ahead of his teammates. Hamilton, well, I can do better. I don't know how he can possibly do better. But we can increase our career XP. And as you can see, 3rd podium this year. We've pretty much won the teammate challenge. Not sure why the whole bit against Massa's gone. Perhaps we've won that, and because we're not going there next year, it doesn't really matter. But Sebastian Vettel could win the World Drivers' Championship. Well, anybody could out of those 4. And that'll be the last race of the season. So that'll be out tomorrow at 6 PM on the channel. No promises, of course, folks. You know, something could happen. I haven't recorded that yet, obviously. Hopefully it will be out on the channel. But we've got a very exciting title race to come. Of course, if Hamilton finishes anywhere above 9th, Button can't win the championship. If Hamilton finishes anywhere above, let me think, 14. So if Hamilton finishes in 4th, Vettel can't win it. And it's going to be a pretty much straight dogfight between Alonso and Hamilton. If Alonso wins the next race, Alonso's the champion. Quite incredible. But if Hamilton wins it, of course, then he is champion. But Hamilton needs to win to shrug off Fernando Alonso. What an interesting race we have in store. Thank you very much for watching, folks. I've been TIJ Gaming, and I'll see you guys for the final race of the F1 2012 career mode tomorrow at 6 PM. Make sure you tune in. I hope you enjoyed this one. But until tomorrow, I will see you guys later. Goodbye for now.